Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual, however you may come. I pray that this message finds all that is well. So, I put in here live report. I want to touch on a couple of different things right now. I've got about a 25-minute drive, and I want to touch on a couple of different things. One of them I'm going to touch on is the coronavirus. Now, in Matthew 24th chapter, we broke that down yesterday while we were in service, and it talked about how the disciples asked, what should be the coming, what would be the signs of the end? And he already said that there's going to be wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, and all like that. So when we look at the coronavirus, we look at the news and stuff like that, and of course we should always take precautions in everything that we do because we just don't know. So I just want to touch a little bit on the coronavirus because these are one of these things where people will really say, well, it's this is going on, that's going on. It's one of the seals and what have you. I just want to put some information on the table. In 1918, there was a Spanish flu. 50 million people died. 500 million were affected. 675,000 in the United States alone died of that 50 million. Just to drop that note down, because the coronavirus is not at that level. I don't think it'll get to that level. Of course, I really don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a person in the medical field. But when we start to look at the perspective of the SARS, I forgot what they call it, the SARS virus and all like that, and the influenza. Influenza has been plaguing us for nearly 100 years. 100 years, the influenza virus has been here. It has never been controlled. It keeps expanding. And every year, the only thing you can do is get a flu shot. And you're going to find that the coronavirus is going to probably be on that magnitude. So the influenza virus never was placed under control. It was totally never wiped out. So again, check that out. It's called the some people, you can Google it under the 1918 flu. But again, 500 million worldwide were affected. 500 million, that's a lot of people, almost a billion people, but 500 million in 1918. And out of the 500 million, 10% of those died. 50 million died. 675 alone died in the United States. And again, that was the influenza virus. We look at the coronavirus, of course, because technology, news media, and all of those other things are out on the rise, and technology is at a level like never before. Most of these viruses get under control pretty rapidly. We don't know how this influenza virus, this corona. I just want to drop a note that Matthew 24th chapter said this was going to happen. There's going to be wars and rumors of war. That's viruses, that's diseases. The HIV virus is still affecting many worldwide, although the numbers are getting lower, the number of infections, but they do have medication to stop its advancement into full-blown AIDS. So we're going to see a lot more viruses and a lot more of everything come out upon the end. So I just want to touch on that. Politically, let me jump on a political point right now. I'm telling you, these Democrats are in trouble. But nonetheless, when we did our Bible study on Friday night, we basically went over the scriptures that says that the Most High God puts every king in place. Every king in place. The Most High is always in charge. Always in charge. So we thank the Almighty for just... So when you look at things politically, I'm still looking at everything from a chessboard perspective. And when I look at it from a chessboard perspective, there's certain things that has to take place. Certain pieces on the chessboard have to gain power. Certain pieces have to go away. And so when I look around, I see that happening right now today. And it is happening, and it is taking place right before our eyes. So Russia again is on, Russia is, its power with China is on the rise. Now this coronavirus coming out of China is going to have its effect, but there's a link I want to share with you all. I may do that. I'd like to get the guy on our... He is a financial guy, and but he always brings some interesting statistics and perspective on things, on how they impact us financially. And he talked about the coronavirus, but it was from him that I got the statistical information about other viruses that have gone and that have been far, far more worse than this. Could you imagine if you were in 1918, 50 million people dying, 675,000 in the United States? Somebody who was reading the scriptures probably said, oh, this is, the Lord is coming, he's coming. And he is coming. But I always go by what the Messiah said, when you shall see the abomination of the desolation, stand in the holy place. I keep watching the politics that goes on around the holy place, Jerusalem. And I'm looking at the politics and in and out and the nuances of it. And what we find out that's happening is that America is losing its strength in the Middle East. It's losing its respect in the Middle East. China is influencing a lot of people with this money. It's doing a lot of lending to a lot of countries in the Middle East and in Africa. It's where they're throwing this money. I don't know if they're making money. I don't know what they're doing, but they're throwing money around like it's leaves from a tree, and they're loaning. They did that with Venezuela. They came in and loaned Venezuela money, and the collateral was Venezuela's natural resources. It's oil, it's gold. A lot of people don't realize that Venezuela is one of the top producers of oil, and it's also a top producer in gold. It's there in the land. And so the Chinese have loaned those individuals in that country a lot of money, and the collateral is are those natural resources. Politically, that's why Russia went there. Russia is China's. You know how when you loan somebody money and you always call in the guy when you don't pay? That guy comes in, that's Russia for China. I know people don't see that, but that's what it is. That's Russia for China. And China, although they are very afraid of Russia, but China is the lender and Russia goes back as the enforcer. And so you see a lot of things taking place with those two. So that's what's happening on the political front. When you look at what's happening in the Middle East and Israel, Rome is constantly buying a lot more property, various landmarks, and they're throwing up cathedrals so fast. I'm talking about their glass, by the way. They have glass glass, the whole front end. Instead of it being a wall, it's all glass. You got the sides is solid, but the front wall and the back wall are all tinted glass. So when you walk in, you're walking in, you're able to go visit a site and then leave right out of visiting that landmark, that historic landmark, and walk right next door to a Catholic cathedral. Isn't that something? That's the alliances that Israel, who has created with Rome. So you see a lot of that going on. And a lot of people have forgotten the fact that when the United States did the groundbreaking for the United States Embassy in Israel, they didn't put it in Tel Aviv. They didn't put it at a place where there would be less controversy. They put it at a place where there would be a lot of controversy. And they put it near, basically in the Jerusalem, the smaller portion of Jerusalem, which is occupied by Israel. Most of Jerusalem is in the Palestinian state. Most of Jerusalem is in the Palestinian state. A lot of people don't know that. They think that all of Jerusalem is in Israel, and that's not true. The greater portion of Jerusalem, and I'm talking about the greater portion of Jerusalem, is in Palestine. As you know, the whole land over there is a two-state territory, Palestinian state and an Israeli state. So the reason why the Palestinians got so upset is because when they put that embassy there, they saw this as another way of moving the boundary lines once again. Less land being taken, or more land being taken from the Palestinians. So that's why there was an uproar from the people of Palestine when the groundbreaking took place for the United States Embassy. So these are little kind of things that you watch, because these are little small moves. When you play chess, it's a little move here and a little move there. And of course, the individuals that are making the moves, they know what the ultimate goal and the ultimate plan is. So they can create a diversion here on one side of the board, really opening up something for a major piece on the other side. It's evident that the United States is going to have to subside, and they are doing so. We saw the evidence of that in two conflicts. One was in Venezuela. The United States was flexing a lot of muscle. I'm talking about they were flexing some muscle. We flexed so much muscle, I thought we were in a bodybuilding competition. We were really flexing muscles, and Guaido really thought that he was really become president. And he really thought that the United States was going to come in and overthrow. In fact, on the surface, it looked like that. They used every fear tactic. The United States used every trick in the bag to spark the people to overthrow Maduro. But it did not happen. It did not happen because Russia came in and landed a flight carrier full of Russian soldiers. And the United States turned back around and let that go. The only thing that Guaido got was when the president did the State of the Union a few weeks ago, he got a hand clap from Congress and said that you the real president. But a king without a kingdom is kingless. So Guaido is kingless. So he's not a king over anything because Russia and China are there inside of Venezuela. And that's a power move. And that's a power move that substantiates the biblical prophecy. Also in Syria, there was conflict with Turkey and all of that going on. The United States moved its troops out the next day. I'm talking about the next day. Russia moved its troops in. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening there in the Middle East. And then you got that mountain that, I forgot what the name of it, starts with a G. You know, when you read this stuff, you try to memorize everything you can, because only thing I try to memorize is book, chapter, and verse from the Bible. But anyway, there's some mountains there that separates Israel from Syria. And that territory has always belonged to Syria. But the United States did a power move about 3 or 4 months ago, and they annexed. They said, we're going to consider this land to be annexed into Israel. Now, it belonged to Syria, but the tall mountains were occupied by Israeli troops, although the land belonged to Syria. Now, it wasn't significant or anything like that, except if whoever holds that land can hold the vantage point in case there is a military strike by either side. So the United States just said, hey, Israel's been up in these mountains so long, we're going to give them the land. The United States cannot make a power move like that, but let me tell you something. You can do anything you want. And if people are silent on it, it makes it real. I mean, you can walk in, back in when America started, the United States walked in and just took the land from the Indians. If don't nobody say nothing, they'll keep going. And that's what the United States did. If no other country says anything, then it becomes real. It may not be real to anybody else, but it's real to Israel. But the issue is that the United States is losing its footing in the Middle East. And so don't think Iran is done. That situation there, you got to keep one eye open, one eye closed. Iran is a country, they're Persians, by the way. So you can kind of see who's on sides. Look over there. Russia is the Medes. Okay, so look to see who's on sides over there. The Medes and the Persians. They're together. They've always been together, always will be together. But what's interesting about Iran, I did some studying and reading on Iran. Iran is very strategic in how they throw a rock. And they can throw a rock and hide their hand, but they always leave their fingerprint on the rock. You didn't see them throw the rock, but somehow it just smells like it's got Iran written all over it. And Iran would do stuff like, they would do things on an anniversary date on something that happened 20 years ago, just to let you know it was them. You don't know, you suspect them. In fact, they'll have somebody else take blame. And you be looking at that other one of those little terrorist group that probably don't have number 200 or 300 people in it, not enough money to do anything, and they say, we did it. And you're looking at them like ain't no way they could have done it. And then you're looking at Iran, and Iran sitting there with their hands behind their back like they ain't did nothing. And they looking at the country that said that they did it, knowing that they. So Iran, something that I look at one eye open, one eye closed. Now, I'm not, listen, when I talk about this stuff, there's nothing to be afraid of. When you're in the will of the Most High, you're not afraid of none of this, because you understand the scriptures. The scripture says all of these things shall happen, but the end is not yet. I talk about it because it's interesting, but it's not significant to anything. What's significant is when the abomination of the desolation stands in the holy place. You better be ready to flee. there's a wilderness, it's a place of safety. And that's what we have to be aware of. Because when that tribulation starts, it's going to be something. A time like never ever before, like it nor has it ever been. And unless you, if you don't accept the mark of the beast, you won't even be able to buy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This Wednesday, as a matter of fact, you're going to go to work across the United States, and you're going to see people come in, and they're going to be walking. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to go to the post office. You're going to that you may do. So you'll see that mark this coming Wednesday. You'll see that mark on people's foreheads and in their hands. So look for that this Wednesday. This Wednesday is this man's so-called Ash Wednesday. And everybody will have a little ash on their little mark right here. Check it out. Check it out. You'll see it. No matter where you go at. You can go to the grocery store, you can go to the movie theater, you can go to the post office. No matter where you go at, you're going to see that mark on a lot of people's foreheads. They'll go right on working. They'll go right on working. They'll go right on in school, right on teaching. If you're in college, night school, when you go to school at night, you look up at the professor. They're going to have it. People in the classroom, they're going to have that little mark. If you go shopping, go to the mall, look for it. You're going to see it. A little mark on everybody's forehead. And look on their hand also. Right here on their forehead. You're going to see that little mark. So that's something not to take lightly. It's something not to take lightly. Okay? It kind of gives you an idea of what's happening. Just read the scriptures and look. You can see everything that is happening. What else should we touch on? This week, I'm going to be doing probably more car cams because I'm going to be driving to a different county for training every day this week, and it's about a 30-45 minute drive. So I pray that the Almighty gives me something to just share with you, and we'll be bringing something of substantive notice and information for you. We're not going to just get on to be talking and to be talking. Ain't no time for that. We're getting to the end. There's not enough time for that. It's getting too late in the evening time. The Bible is unfolding right before our very eyes. And I'm talking about unfolding. I'm talking about really unfolding before our eyes. And it's so important that we stay on top of everything so that we would know. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So we're going to make sure that we can impart as much knowledge for that part that we know, and so that you can get full understanding and stuff like that. I still didn't get a chance to talk about the feast day dates. I gave the Passover is April the 7th. That's the first day of Abib. That's the 14th day of Abib. The first day of Abib is March the 25th. The new moon in Jerusalem will be sundown March the 24th. Sundown March the 24th, you will be the new moon. You will be able, I came in the wrong parking lot. So that's going to be on March the 24th. So therefore, the 25th will be the first day of Abib. If you count 14 days, starting with Abib starting with March the 25th as day number 1. Start with March the 25th as day number 1. It will take you 14 days later, will be on a Tuesday. April the 7th. April the 7th. And so therefore, according to the scriptures, get you a lamb on the 10th day, keep it until the 14th day, and the whole assembly shall kill it in the evening. So when that happens, that's going to be on Tuesday. Now we will be having service on Monday night. We're going to be taking communion, having a service. We'll be coming back Tuesday night because on Wednesday, we'll be having service on Wednesday day also because that's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We will be having a feast on that day. So just to share all of that with you, I said 25 to 30 minutes. It has now been 27 minutes. I'm at my destination. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll share more with you. Peace to all of you.